Yeah, when we look at the addressable space, really what does that mean? It's being able to serve a one-to-one ad at a deterministic footprint when reaching the right audience with the right ad at the right time. So when we look at the full footprint, that's a combination of whether that's set-top box, connected TVs, anywhere where we have that true one-to-one connection to ultimately reach the right audiences. And the reality is that's a really tough thing to do. How to make this all interoperable between the MVPDs, the smart TVs, the connected TV devices. So as we look at it, it really starts with, okay, well, what audiences are we really kicking this off with? How are we utilizing our first party or third party audiences, our M1 audiences, and how are we ultimately reaching them in the various different platforms that they're consuming content on? And then more so and more importantly, on the back end, how are we measuring that as cleanly as possible? As we all know, there's a lot of walled gardens in this space, and for various reasons, for privacy concerns, and for obviously for their own benefit to make sure they're capitalizing on their audiences that are coming to their platforms. But what we're ultimately really trying to do is set up as many connections and pipes with our audiences directly into these platforms and into these partners to allow for that deduplication and understanding across one partner to the next, who has been reached, who has been exposed to our ad, and then ultimately did they actually take that action?
How do you define addressable, and where might that be going? And particularly the anticipation around addressable via glass for the linear programmers.
Yeah, when I first think of addressable, it's that true one-to-one connection. I think addressable TV has always been known as that MVPD one-to-one in linear television. As we think about addressable itself, it's more rooted in that one-to-one connection. So whether it's a digital medium, whether it's a connected TV on the glass, or if it's through an MVPD in a set-top box, or really what's emerging today with the ability to tap into national linear spots, but then addressably serve the right creative over the glass to the right household. So I think addressable has many forms, but I think there's one rudimentary key to all of it, and that's that one-to-one connection and serving that right ad to the right person at the right time.
Now, what's the attitude amongst brands? And of course, you represent so many great brands. What do they want in terms of addressable or one-to-one advertising? And of course, there's different brands, different needs, different use cases. But in your sort of interaction with clients, what is it that they're looking for?
Yeah, I would say it's a combination of two things. One, the goal is to reach the right audiences the right amount of times. And addressability allows us to really hold that media accountable to understanding, did we actually reach those audiences? Did we reach net new audiences? But then really leaning in on that accountability piece. Addressable, because it is that one-to-one, it allows us to do a lot more on the back end from a measurement perspective to know, did they actually take an action? Does those core audiences that we really want to reach, did they go to store? Did they go to website? Did they go to our dealership? So ultimately, when I look at addressable and the real core of it that we want, that our clients are looking for is, did I reach the right person at the right time at the right ad? And did they actually take that action? I think that's really the great thing of what addressable brings to the table, is to really hold that media more accountable to both that reach and action.
Now, Brad, there's quite a lot going on the sell side with broadcasters and consortiums and efforts. What is it that as a buyer you need from the programmers, from the measurement companies? Kind of what's on your wish list, if you will?
Yeah, I'll use two of my favorite buzzwords more recently, and that's interoperability and collaboration. I think that's really core to how we're going to really push this industry forward and really allow for our agencies, our buyers, our advertisers to take advantage of reaching our audiences against just great premium content. But we need more collaboration between our partners to really allow for that interoperability, to allow us to take our audiences, know where they're consuming content, and be able to reach them at the right time, at the right ad. I know I kind of have that theme that's going on, saying the same thing there, but it's really core to where the future of advertising is going. Because we have all this data at our fingertips, the best way to actually enact and enable it for our advertisers is to allow them to be able to understand, okay, well, across these walled gardens, across these partners, where are audiences showing up the most and where are they consuming that content? And the ability to allow that to be interoperable between partners is going to push the whole industry forward and allow all of them to net win.
Brad, from the buyer's standpoint, how do you see inventory on CTV? Do you see it as available? As it restricted? Pricey. How do you see inventory shaping up, particularly on the AVOD fast services?
Yeah, inventory is extremely interesting in the connected TV space because the reality is there's so many ways in which you can access connected TV inventory. And I think that's where it all has to start. When you're evaluating different ways to access connected TV, you have to really understand, well, who has the ability to serve an ad in which environment? So if your focus is going to be on audiences, well, then we want to make sure we're working with partners that have access to a lot of inventory, but also have really great back-end data to allow us the highest level of fidelity when doing targeting. If our focus is, hey, I want to make sure I'm reaching premium content and I want to make sure I'm around NBCU's content or CW's content, maybe you really need to focus in on doing more direct deals with partners that have that content. So it really, and then from a programmatic standpoint, there's ways to tap into SSPs who have access to all this great content against a lot of the name brands like the Plutos, Zumos, Tubies of the world. So at the end of the day, the one problem we don't have is access to content. It's about understanding what is your main KPI as an advertiser when reaching and being next to certain pieces of content and who you're trying to reach when activating your campaign. So if you have a very strong campaigns rooted in audiences and first party or third party data, you're going to want to make sure you're teaming up with a partner that has great back end data themselves to have a high fidelity for matching to reach your audiences where they're consuming content. I think the very interesting thing about this space, when you look at the fast channels like a Tubi, a Zumo, Pluto, their audiences are growing at exponential rates. People are leaning into these fast channels. With those partners, they have a lot of scale against great content. At the same time, though, how much registration data do they have? Not a knock on them. They have great content that people are coming to every single day. I think it's finding the right balance of how you want to activate across these different partners.